This is the Lambda Cartel, episode 7. This is Pablo Rivera, and with me is Scott Nimrod. This is a special episode where we will be airing our frustrations and just ranting about the things that make us go crazy whilst building Project Nikeza. So, Scott, you were telling me offline what is going on your end that's driving you crazy.
I feel like this project for me is a marathon where every single morning and every evening I try to commit some type of fix or some type of enhancement or any piece of code that brings us one step closer to completion and recognition, at least for my part. And I feel like even though I'm pretty proud of the progress that we've made, I feel like there's still like so much to do, and I started dwelling on it, and I don't know, I just start having anxiety over it, where it's like, at least with when you're training for a marathon, and at least when you're actually in that marathon, you know where the finish line is. You know how many hours or how many minutes it's going to take for you to maintain the pace or the rate of speed that you're going. And as long as you continue that velocity, you're going to hit, and then you can stop. And well, I don't know where that finish line is.
I don't think it exists.
Keep moving the goddamn finish line further and further, man.
It doesn't. It just doesn't exist. Have you ever worked in a software project that has been finished ever? Like, no more changes, no more bug fixes, no more anything. It's just done deal. Have you ever worked on something like that?
No. In the words of Richard Campbell, software is never finished. It only gets abandoned.
Absolutely. So I mean, I feel the same way as you do. This is a marathon. Like, I'm currently training to do a 5K, to run a 5K. And I know that after I get to the finish line, that's it. I completed it. But it's as if every day I wake up, put on my shoes, put on my shorts, my t-shirt, and go out for a run, and suddenly I'm in the middle of the Sahara Desert, not knowing how I got there, but not really sure if this is the finish line. And so it's just frustrating. It feels like whatever control you have, whatever little control you have, it just like a bit at a time every day. Like, I lose control a little bit every day. And you would think that managing a project or having a project manager or a product manager would make things easier, but it really doesn't. And I cannot imagine how do other open source maintainers feel having that sort of anxiety, plus people demanding fixes to their open source projects. It's just freaking crazy, and that's what I think burns out a lot of people who work in open source. Like, I have the normal, regular anxiety of writing software. By the way, you ever plan to be a software engineer / developer or programmer, you better be good at dealing with stress and anxiety, because otherwise you're not gonna cut it. And imagine having that anxiety plus having some people who could actually pay you to build that feature for them. But no, they're rather, try and hustle you out of your time, which is your most valuable resource, and make you, add a feature that's not really important to the whole scope of the project, but it's important for the business. I mean, my God, I'm just having a hard time just keeping my language clean, because everything that wants to come out is just snakes and poison,
So we talked about the stress. This is my first time doing open source. It sounds like this is your first time doing open source, and so we talked about the stress.
No, it's not my first time. It is my I guess it's the most public thing I ever done in terms of
Or ambitious.
Not really, but not ambitious, but the most publicly open or transparent. That's the right word. The one that's most transparent, and it's out there, because I never really talk about this, because I really didn't have the outlet, aside from paying a shrink $100 an hour. You don't really have an outlet to talk about this in the open,
And so like there's like so many things that nag away, and the thing is, it's like even when I don't have a woman in my life, I still have all these nagging things around me. You know what I mean? And like, for example, I spent the last probably 4 weeks having this nagging anxiety about now
Wait.
Scott.
Hold on. Did you just correlate nagging with women?
No,
Okay.
I correlated nagging with a wife. But,
Okay. Just in case, I don't want to get. I don't want more anxiety in my life.
And so, like, I've had this nagging, sensation. Now, Scott, you still don't really have any tests. You've pretty much built yourself a platform for evangelizing. How important and how professional you are based on the tests that you have, and you don't have anything. And then I have an argument with myself. Well, hell's bells. I mean, I know it's important, but I'm trying to get things done. I'm trying to ship, And so I'm busy having this crazy conversation with myself where, like, I know I need to have tests, and I know that some of these issues I wouldn't be running into and fixing over and over again if I had tests that just notified me. But it's like, well, I'm not getting paid for it professionally, at least not by employer. There is value because this is going on my resume. This is something that used to be absolutely nothing that was spoken into existence. And so, like, I don't know. It's like, who signs up for this? Who signs up for this madness?
Do you ever think about abandoning Nikeza?
No.
And starting with something simpler?
No.
Okay.
It's even when you say abandoning the Nikeza, I automatically translate that as me quitting, period. And I want to be recognized for never ever folding, ever.
Yeah.
I want to be recognized for finishing.
Mm-hmm.
And that's the whole point of a marathon. It's to finish.
Finishing. Yeah, exactly. That's the whole point. Absolutely. You don't go to a marathon to look pretty. You don't go to a marathon to use your new shoes or your new clothing or try out your new iWatch. You go there to cross the finish line. That's it. I mean, that everything else is just gravy. The whole point is to cross that finish line under any means necessary, right? Even if you have to crawl over that finish line, but doing it, saying I did it. Yeah.
And me being selfish and arrogant and wanting to put myself in a class that I think the majority of developers aren't in for the same rationale as running a marathon. Okay, I mean, I do half marathons. I don't think I'm capable of doing a full marathon yet. But being able to proudly say that I'm in the class of some form of elitist or elitism, whatever the right word is, that hey, I wasn't able to achieve this by design, by my initial DNA, but I have leveled up to the point that I am now joining this subset of elitists, right? So I don't know if that's
Yeah.
the right word.
No,
And,
no, it's just being driven. It's just telling the world, here I am. I don't care what you think of me. I'm still gonna get that, and I'm still gonna be better.
yes, and that's the other part is
My
as much
circumstances.
as as much
Yeah,
as I
like
as
being
much
the
as I'm
underdog.
denied employment opportunities, as much as people tell me that I'm not qualified because they never ever Googled me and realize that I write papers on this, like it's kind of a personal like retaliation of okay, keep on denying me something that I'm destined for, right? Because at the end, this is my goddamn trophy. It's
Yeah,
for me.
yeah.
No
It's
one can
like
take
the
it away from me.
yeah. It's like
Everything
the
that I have, everything I've
like
conquered is mine, you know? And
it's
that's
like
something that they just can't take from you.
it's like the harder life hits, the harder I will hit back. And we've somehow turned motivational, but I don't think this is even motivational, because I believe that all those motivational speakers and all those people out there, who say for like about half an hour are just snake oil salespeople, right? The real motivation here is, for example, the current frustration that I'm going through with F sharp. The real motivation is writing the part of the case that I said I was going to write and I'm working on, bumping into issues like the library that is most well documented does not work with .NET Core. So I have to actually write more F sharp code, and I'm not an F sharp expert. I have less than 6 months of from since I started learning it, not like 6 months of experience, because due to personal circumstances, I had to actually stop coding for a couple of months. I'm just freaking frustrated that the documentation, sucks, and it sucks because everything is new. I'm not like putting it on Microsoft. I'm not blaming their team. I'm not saying, hey, your stuff sucks. No, I'm saying that it sucks currently because we're in this transition period where things are hectic and they have their priority and they have to do this and they have to do that. But you know what? I'm selfish. I don't care if if it's a transition period because I'm still suffering, right? Oh, but I keep at it. Like I keep searching, I keep trying things, and you know what? I actually discovered that .NET Core had as in past a CLI option, and they removed it. Like I wanted to use .NET Core to run, to test my little, snippets of F sharp code, and I freaking can't. I actually have to boot up my Windows VM and use fsi.exe, which is ridiculous. And now what I'm doing is going to repo.it, which is a website where you can run code from multiple languages, and running my code there. And not everything works because it's sandbox. So I don't know why they removed that CLI. They probably have a good reason to. I don't know. Having a CLI, for what is basically a VM and a collection of languages is like pretty much necessary. Don't you think? I mean, like not everything is in a freaking GUI, Microsoft. Like if you want to jump into the Mac and the Linux, things of the world, Get rid of the freaking GUI. That's all I'm saying. Oh my God. I said it. I feel like a 1,000 pounds have been, lifted from my shoulders.
There you go.
No, but I still have to. So here's the deal. I found some code in their documentation, and so I'm gonna eat a little, a little crap there, but I found some code in their documentation on how to read an RSS feed. And the thing is that the code, although it's readable and it's well presented, I don't know if that's compatible with .NET Core.
So let's first knock on someone's door, whoever thought it was a great idea to do this on .NET Core, knock on their door, drag them out into the middle of the street. And
No. I think I know that you are for the vanilla.net, and I know your reasons, but I feel that going through all this anxiety and suffering and pain, I think it's worth it because it makes us stand out. It gives people a reason to try it out. It gives Microsoft a reason to say, hey, these guys are actually trying to build something publicly. Let's try and support them. It gives people like Don Syme, the actual drive to not only follow us but to ask questions and be up to date in whatever we're doing, which is I think important. So yeah, I mean, a lot of pain and suffering, but I think it's worth it. It's like back in late 90s, I was using Linux, and a lot of the drivers didn't work. So I was a guinea pig for Linux, and I was also a guinea pig for Ubuntu. And a lot of, for example, I had a Lenovo laptop that its Wi-Fi drivers didn't work because it had a Broadcom chipset, and the drivers were not just compatible. They hadn't been merged, into the mainstream Linux kernel. I had to wait a full year before I had Wi-Fi. Yeah, and so yeah, and so I'm used to that level of commitment of suffering and pain, but that's Linux. That's a company, that's not a company. That's not a business. Ubuntu, it was really small back then, very little money. I mean, this is Microsoft. Microsoft could right now buy the island where I live. Microsoft could buy Puerto Rico and just make everybody wear, like a shirt with the Windows logo, and would have to abide. And they have all this money, and it should be. I mean, I'm not gonna rant against it, but I just want them to put more money into this. Just throw some money at it.
I wouldn't know because I haven't been on the server side. I'm not one of you server side people. But,
see, that's the problem.
I mean, it's on my to-do list, but I tried to 2-3 days ago. I loaded up Visual Studio, and I tried to pull in the server solution, and lo and behold, it didn't load the server solution. And I'm like, all right, well, hey guys, I can't load, the server.solution file.
Not compatible.
Yeah, it says it's not compatible. What do I need to do? Odio's like, yeah, it's not supported in Visual Studio. I'm like,
yeah.
It's what? It's a problem. It's a problem.
you're like, wait,
Product.
like,
It's Microsoft's baby, and so is Visual Studio. What do you mean? That's how you program. Like it's
that's like, yeah, like hold the phone. Yeah, like you mean to tell me .NET Core doesn't work in Visual Studio? That's like, I mean, that's like not being able to search Google on Google.
it's like
Yeah,
the Garden of Eden, and there's only one tree with fruit, and that's it. And I'm really hungry, and I'm not supposed to eat from it. Like, what the freak? That's probably a poor illustration, but
no,
yeah.
that's cool. But it's ridiculous. But I mean, again, this is just ranting, airing frustrations. Like I don't wanna put some, like, I'm not blaming. Well, in some way, I am blaming Microsoft because they're a big corporation. I'm not anybody. And if you're a Microsoft employee and your feathers, get ruffled because I said this, then you should really get a thicker skin.
Well, hold up. So I always view Microsoft as not really a monolithic company, but a whole bunch of cells operating under an umbrella called
Uh,
Microsoft.
I have a I just have, like, I have a history with it, and it's changing, it's improving. I've made peace with the past, and I'm trying to be maybe not more positive, but accepting and understanding. But I mean, they have money.
Yeah, they have money, but they also have the individual budgets or individual, for lack of a better term, I don't know, not departments, but I always view Microsoft as a whole bunch of businesses
Yeah,
that
conglomerate.
have their own specific
Hmm.
budgets,
Hmm.
right?
Yeah,
So
like,
it's
yeah,
not
of
like
course.
it's not one budget and they just throw everything on Visual Studio.
All I'm saying is just put some money into the documentation and put some money into the CLI for .NET Core because I'm just tired. Just like please, just this once, one time. No,
All right.
but here, um, but seriously, the cool thing is that they do have a way for you to communicate issues through GitHub, and I'm not those people who goes to GitHub and opens an issue and says, "King, I need you to fix it for me." I'm more of a, if I find a solution for an issue, or if I find an issue and I find a solution, I will post it maybe in a wiki or in an issue itself and say, I found this issue, here's the solution, do as you wish, but here's the data, right? Um, and sometimes it's hard to take that attitude when everything feels broken. I guess with Elm, I had the same like experience with Elm when I was looking at the Elm code and I was trying to add Bootstrap to the Elm side of things. I just felt broken.
Yeah, there's something that I posted on Stack Overflow earlier today. I get a runtime exception. I'm like, I thought there was no runtime exceptions in Elm. Of course, this isn't like the actual web application. This is a unit test that I'm getting a runtime exception in. But like, I don't know, I admit we're spoiled, the things that we're complaining about, but
We're absolutely spoiled. But just imagine being in a company working at a regular job and having these issues. Like,
well, it happens all the time.
absolutely, what are you going to tell your manager?
Well, managers
Like
aren't programmers anyway, so they don't understand anything. Hence, the people
exactly,
they employ. That's living proof. Anyway,
exactly. So you know, I think this podcast episode goes out to all those people out there who want to air out their grievances, right?
no, why not? Let's keep going. Hell, we don't even have to talk about software anymore. Let's talk about Trump. Let's talk about Obama. Like,
No. Forget about that. No. Let's keep it. This
Don't
is
talk
the
about my
Lambda
dog.
Cartel. No. This is the Lambda Cartel. This is not CNN. This is not
Since I got
Washington
my
Post,
dog back,
anything like that.
my dog's been different.
Your dog's been different.
Yeah, man.
Maybe it feels.
She feels like a
Maybe
roommate.
she feel. No. Maybe she feels your frustrations with Elm and the fact that you cannot run the Nikeza on Visual Studio, and she is like also frustrated.
Well, my issue with Visual Studio Code is
Why don't you use Visual Studio Code?
I do use Visual Studio Code. That's how I've been building it, the web app or the client side.
Then why don't you work on the server side with Visual Studio Code? Like,
because it's inferior to Visual Studio. Duh.
I mean, sure, it's less complicated. It has less features.
It's inferior. Visual Studio.
I mean, it's not inferior. Visual Studio.
I am productive. I know all the shortcut keys. I'm just awesome.
For you, it's superior for you. But I don't find Visual Studio like. I don't think it's that great of a product, personally.
Well, how much?
Like yesterday, I was talking to somebody on Twitter. I used to use it, and I got tired of it.
Exactly. How many do you even have a year of experience with Visual Studio?
Sorry?
You even have a year of experience with Visual Studio?
Yeah, with the 2008 version.
Yeah.
I had a couple of years.
So Visual Studio.
Anyway, no. It just makes like GUIs on top of GUIs on top of GUIs. Just makes things complicated. I'm old school. I like having a command line interface. I like writing my commands. I don't like having buttons that I click and do things.
They have shortcuts.
That's
the part that you're missing. They have shortcuts.
I can do an alias and just do that. Like, I'm just totally in sync with the Linux workflow, right? With Bash workflow, and that's the whole thing. That's like the facts, and that's why I don't really sync well with IDEs. Not only Visual Studio, but for example, when I was doing Android applications, I found Android Studio to be so annoying. I mean, just annoying. But it's this thing against IDEs, right? IDEs just assume that they're giving you the right set of tools. Prefer to have to develop my own workflow, to customize my own toolbox, right? Oh my God! I'm ranting about IDEs. F#, what have you done?
So I don't know. I'm just at the point where I don't know how to edit multiple lines of code like I can do in Visual Studio. I don't know how to do that.
You know what frustrates me most? The fact that Mitch just wrote all of that F# code, and I'm trying to copy his style. I'm trying to copy his code because I said, okay, so I can take the YouTube code, how he wrote it, with the same style, because he has a very good style, and make my stuff work. But like, I feel that I'm not even, I can't even reach Mitch's ankles, right? Like, I'm a lowly programmer compared to Mitch the giant, right? And so I have this imposter syndrome right now. Like, am I even skilled enough? Like, am I in the same league as Mitch? Like, should I just let Mitch write this code and me avoid?
Why don't you just pair with them?
That's not a bad idea.
I mean, we paired like 4 or 5 days ago.
That's not a bad idea.
Mitch and
I think I'm gonna ask him that, but I'm still gonna keep going at it today, because I know the code that right today, and I believe me, I will get something working today. It's not gonna be pretty. It's not gonna be great, but I just wanted to, run. It's like an engine
Get it
that
to
won't start. I want it to start and at least idle. I don't care about horsepower. I just want it to run. Oh my God, it's crazy. It's crazy. So unit tests on the front end.
Yeah, and I also have this nagging thing about getting continuous integration set up, and that's something else that's been nagging. But I mean, I guess you have to have a good suite of automated tests first in
Mm-hmm.
order to really make CI or continuous integration a priority. So that's on my list, you know. Um, I just want to get this project done, man. And then I'm going to book a flight to like Cuba or
To that,
Cancun.
I just want to get to
I
that
guess.
point and be able to do other things, because I think something that we can learn from, like something that other people can learn from, like on us, is that we set up ourselves not for failure, because that's not my point, but we set up ourselves in some really tough circumstances, right? We have a new team, people who don't really know each other. We're working with new technology. We're developing a new product, a new project. We are in different time zones where, like, we are remote, um, and
Most of
no,
everybody has a full-time job
exactly,
and
and
or
and
wife and or kids.
and on top of that, we are documenting the process, because if we just shut up and wrote code, it would be way different. Because you could just, hey, I'll come back to it. I'll write some code. I'll push it out. But the fact that that people are paying attention, that you are, promoting this, makes it harder, because suddenly you can't push, those crappy little hacks that sometimes you push just to get things out of the way. You want to push good code, due to the fact that other people might be learning from your experience, and they might be learning F sharp, and you don't want to set them up for failure. And so
Yeah, that's another
you,
thing.
yeah,
I got some code that I'm not proud of that's in there that it's kind of like what you said. Like I just want to get the car started, period. And so, I mean, don't get me wrong. I still apply that Boy Scout rule where every morning, every evening, if I see an opportunity to spruce something up to make it better than when I first found it, I'll go ahead and do it. But there's one part of that code that there was two parts of that code base on the client
I,
side that I really, really want to revisit.
I
But
think I know
all right,
home.elm.
what is it? Well,
The
well, okay, there's three parts of the code base that I really, really want to, revisit
no,
and
I think
simplify.
it. Yeah, no, I think there's some places that you can simplify, but as a whole, taking into account, like being, like being real, and not criticizing just for the sake of criticizing, like being at whole. I think you did a good job, because you are learning Elm, you are learning web development, you are learning front end web development, and so there's a lot of things. I mean, you have a lot of things on top of each other, a lot of layers that you have to swift through, a lot of knowledge that you have to immediately gain in order to do something simple. Like the issue you assigned me last week, which was fix a problem with the CSS. The whole bug was that the CSS class was defined with an uppercase, with an uppercase letter, and in Elm, you were referring to it with a lowercase letter. And I'm like, yeah, and I'm like, that's understandable, because of the, with all of these layers that you have to go through, that you're learning, that you're simply you have like a machete and you're going through the jungle. You're like taking down stuff so you can get to someplace. It's like, imagine if the marathon was in the middle of the Amazon, and you have a machete, and you know where the goal is, but you have to cut down trees and kill animals and do all sorts of things to get there. That's basically what you're doing.
Yeah. So it's taking home.elm, which is like approaching 1,100 lines of code. I want to reduce that down to like preferably 300, but that's not the highest on my priority. So that's one thing though. The other part is I spent about 2 days trying to figure out how to implement a multi-state checkbox control. Hence, you wanted that stupid all checkbox.
My fault.
And I mean, I guess the way I constructed the code, it just doesn't fall into place to work. And so, if you really want that, I'll let you add that. God, I gave 2 days of my life trying to get that thing to work. And my thought process is to basically have a separate project or a separate solution that's just focused on building that control, and then dropping the implementation of that control back into Nikeza's solution.
But you don't have to refactor the front end. You can just rewrite it. It's just a client, with the knowledge that you gained.
I'm not rewriting it. Refactoring means to restructure the code but maintain behavior.
Yeah, but you can rewrite a lot of the code.
I'm not rewriting it. I'm not rewriting it.
No,
it's a marathon. You're asking me to do the marathon again. I ain't doing the marathon again. The third one, which the third item on my list that is screaming to be refactored is and you saw the code, is the navigation pane. And so I have styling based on what button you select. And that's probably like 150. Well, it's probably like 100 lines of code. And it's a lot of duplication. But I just wanted to get that thing done so I can move on to other parts. And so that's also on my to-do list, is take a morning and consolidate that 100 lines or 150 lines to like probably 15 lines. So
I'm going to tell you a quick story. In my last job, I would sometimes, it would be the weekend, and I would sometimes just open up, the product I was working on, and I would just read that one file of, that one part of the code that I wrote because I had to get things done, but other people now depended on that code so much that refactoring it meant that I would need to do a lot of work, right? And so I would always bump it because there was something more important, and I would just sit down and stare at that code and just look at it. And I mean, I don't drink, but if I did drink, I would have had like a glass of whiskey or something, because it just haunts you. It just haunts you. Sometimes I'm driving and I think about it. Like, I wish I would have refactored that. I wish I would have fixed it. I blogged about it. Does that happen to you? Like, do you have that code that like ghosts?
Yeah, it's the navigation pane. Like, I have OCD, and I think it's a good thing I have OCD. Some parts of it's unhealthy, relationship-wise, but like, there's
today with Dr. Phil, we have Nimrod.
There's some retardedness that I have. All right, so for example, outside of code, here's an example of OCD that I could talk about. The volume of the TV or the music that's playing has to be.
Oh, has to be an even number.
I told you this already.
No, I do the same.
Or an increment of 5. A multiple of 5.
Yeah, exactly. It has to be either a multiple of 5. Well, a multiple of 3, 5. Well, no, sorry. Yeah, multiple of 5, because I know that from 20 to 25, the difference in volume, it's noticeable. But 20 to 23 is not, right?
No, I just like completeness. So like, I don't like odd things. I like even things. So 5 is okay, right? Because 5 is like in the middle, cool. But it has to be like an even number or a multiple of 5. And so sometimes like I'll be rolling, I'll be bumping like, I don't know, like Pac or some slow jam, and my girl will like look at me and then look at the radio, and then she'll just turn it down or up 1 notch, and it'll go from like 15, or no, it'll go from like 14 to 13.
Oh my
She'll
God.
just look at me and wait for me to respond, and I try to hold back, and then I have to turn it up 1 or down 1, and so like, yeah. So anyway, I'm saying all this because like, I would say as a
wait, I'm gonna ask you something. No, I was gonna ask you something.
What?
How do you deal with those volume bars that don't display numbers?
I'm okay with
bars.
That. I'm okay with that.
Like I will just I have to I visually measure, like I say, okay, so this is about 25% here. This is 50%.
No, I don't.
I do it based on percentages now. So I'm worse than you.
I used to be really bad. I kind of like tame myself. Every once in a while I'll find myself doing this behavior, but like if I go to like a grocery store and I'll start fronting the cans, like the Campbell's soups and stuff, I'll start pulling all the cans to the front and start facing them so that their logo their logo is facing,
Oh, dude, if I enter a store and the carpet that they have at the entrance, if it's not exactly where it should be, I move it when I'm going to order. If there are any flyers on the counter, I will simply, arrange them. Yeah. If there are any napkins. I mean, when I go to Costco to eat something, it's like a play date, because I can go to where all the forks, and spoons are, that area, and just organize and remove the spoons from the forks and just put everything in a logical fashion. I mean, yeah, but doing that helps, because when I get into a code base and I see a freaking mess, I immediately start cleaning. I start commenting. I start adding line breaks. I'm like, this is unreadable. I need to improve the structure of this before I can actually do something.
And the interns be like, oh no, it's okay, just leave it alone. I'm like,
no,
not okay.
No,
look at it. This is good. This is ratchet. No, people will not respect the code base if you leave it in this state. You will respect my code base. And I'll just start making updates. And they're like, Scott, man, it works. No, it doesn't work. You need to respect it. Why are you even working here? Who hired you? You don't care about your work. You just think you can just throw characters on the editor and just walk off and think that's cool?
Oh my God!
Nah, man. I don't even want to work with you.
No. I mean, I've had my moments.
You got to respect it, man.
You have your moments where you can't really structure things the way you want because of you don't have time, and so you're like, okay, I'm going to do this, but you do have that itch, that internal nagging, like, hey, dude, you did that, and you have to fix it. And I always go back. I sometimes dream with sending.
Man, I just lost the last 10 seconds. Pablo.
Here.
I just lost like the last 10 seconds of whatever you just said.
Oh man, my internet is just
You said you
Just
dream of
tired.
what?
I dream of emailing the CEO of the company I used to work for and
Mm-hmm.
telling her, like, would you give me access to repo so I can fix the formatting of the code that I left, you know, in not great state? Like, would you let me do that? But I know it's not gonna happen. But okay, so we have like 50 minutes left for an hour, and so let's 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 try and turn this into a constructive moment, right? Let's share how we deal with these situations so that people can get something out of it, right? So um, now that I'm trying to do the WordPress integration for Nikeza, um, I the way I started is that I added the um, the URL, the rule that matches the URL that will be responsible for getting the RSS data. And I just added that, I mapped that, and it just returns the word, returns a string. Why did I do that? Because I said, okay, I broke down all the steps that I have to take, all the steps that I have to do. I have to have a URL or a URI. I have to get the feed, the request. I have to process that request. I have to read it, parse it, turn it into whatever format I'm going to use it. When you're frustrated, when you're dealing with situations where things are not really going your way, what I do and what I advise is that you take a step back, just either write it down on your whiteboard or a note and say, these are the steps that I got to do, or make a mental note and say, okay, this is how I'm going to break down this problem. Because sometimes you sit down and you assume that you can do this because you have years of experience writing code.
Mm-hmm.
And let me, and the computer's gonna go, like you're not that good. Like never assume I'm gonna do what you want me to do immediately. Like your experience is worthless most of the time.
Yeah, that's what I
It's
felt
just
like 3
yeah.
days ago. I was, I think I mentioned how I couldn't get this one page to basically comply with the behavior of all these other pages with dealing with filtering. Um, and like, no matter what I did, like, I mean, I combed through that code and like, I had all my I's dotted, my T's crossed, and I just could not figure out why this code was like, or why the behavior of the actual application was acting a certain type of way. And I was almost convinced that it was a bug in Elm, because I'm really good, but
Yeah.
even though I'm learning Elm, but I was convinced it was a bug in Elm.
Yeah, it can't be me. I'm that good, right?
And
Oh.
there's something that like I kind of realized. It's like I have to. I pretty much have the whole model, like literal model of
Uh-huh.
the web application in my head.
Mm-hmm.
And like my mind is already, rebelling because I made my mind responsible for knowing every single detail about the composition of this model, from the portal to the content providers to the user requests, everything. And so
Mm-hmm.
like I have information overload, and it's something very simple I know that can resolve whatever bug that I'm banging my head against the wall against. But I'm so deep into it that I can't step back and figure out like what thing am I missing to make all this work. So I finally took your advice, and I went on some Slack channel, and I said I need help.
It's
And
hard,
5 minutes
but
later,
it's
the guy
hard.
said, "Hey, I see your code is doing this, that, and the other, but it's not calling this right here, and this right here is responsible for actually doing what you needed to do, but it's never ever being called." This guy was a virgin to the Nikeza code base, and within 5 minutes, he gave me the hint that I needed that resolved my issue.
That's very humbling, right?
I'm the father of the client side of Nikeza, and this virgin came in and diagnosed it within 5 minutes.
It is. It is. Software is. It's not only humbling, but it just smacks you. It's like when you were a kid and your dad just smacked you because you were acting out. That's software. And I mean, I am thankful that that person took that also humble approach of helping you. Because imagine if people just said, "Oh, I know everything. I'm not gonna answer any questions. I'm not gonna idle on some Slack channel." Imagine if we didn't have that. That'd be crazy. I mean, so whoever helped you, thank you so much if you ever listen to this podcast, because it's people like that that make software really better. So, oh my God. So people, all I'm saying is if you're having a problem, write it down. Break down your problem on paper, on a whiteboard. Don't rely on your mental models, because the mind is not really built for that. Use a whiteboard, and don't be afraid to ask for help. And also when you ask for help, make sure that you bring in the facts, make sure that you show the code, and don't and have a positive attitude. Sometimes we just need to discuss the problem with somebody in order to find a solution. That's something that happens to me a lot. The other day, unrelated, I was working on a friend's car. So I have a friend who has this very modified Porsche that I've helped him modify, and we were driving it, and we were like trying to run fast on it, but the car, it just wouldn't build boost. And I'm like, wait, what's the problem? What's going on? We were kind of going crazy, and I thought, well, let's talk about the problem. Let's see what's going on. And we broke it down and realized that we forgot to secure a vacuum line, which is a little rubber hose that basically tells the turbo how much air to send to the engine, how much boost.
Yo.
That. And so the car wasn't making power.
Hey.
Yeah.
Sorry. But I'm sorry. But the Lambda cartel is going to get aired in front of 100,000 YouTube subscribers in about
That's 2
weeks.
From who?
John Sanchez.
Really?
He's playing the video in which I have the splash screen of the Lambda cartel as the intro to my question to him.
That's
so
awesome.
He just responded to me, and so yeah, I'm sorry for cutting you off.
No, man, awesome. That's wow. That's great news. I suddenly don't care about F# and
Yo, we just got some exposure, man. 100K. Oh.
Yeah, no, and I'm working on.
That was by design, though. I actually literally planned that out.
I know you did, and golf clap to you, sir. I'm copying .NET Rocks, but they can't copyright that. So, no, but that's awesome. And what I'm looking forward to is 3 months of the Lambda cartel. How's that gonna look like? I have no idea. Because right now, Don Syme is pretty much liking everything I put on Twitter that has to do with F sharp and the lambda cartel. And he's the creator of F sharp, and that's 1 month in, and that's without having him on this podcast, which is one of my goals. And Dunsheim, if you ever, you are going to be on this podcast sooner or later. And I just want to, like, I don't care about 1 year. I don't care about 3 months. I want to see 3 months in.
3 months in, I want Nikaizen 1.0 to be done.
Oh, I want that, like, minus 1 month in. Like, this thing already, it already stinks for me. Like, I immediately want to get it out. It's just, and that's, I think that's the main driver behind the frustrations. It's not the lack of documentation. It's not me telling Microsoft, like, hey, you need to put more money. That's just me venting, right? But I think the main driver behind this frustration is that I want to get this done quickly, because I wanna build the software. I want to get the product out. I want to get this out there, and all of these obstacles just push that goal farther and farther, and it's frustrating. And no matter how much experience you have, let's close with this. Let's talk about this really quickly, because no matter how much experience you have in software, you're always going to bump into this. I have experience with multiple languages. I started to code, like, I wrote my first code when I was 7 years old. It's not that I've been writing codes ever since 7 years of age, but I had the luck of having exposure to a computer very, very early on. And I've had this same frustration. So I should be used to it, but I'm not. I've had it with BASIC, with Pascal, with Lisp, with C, with C++, with Visual Basic, with Python, with Ruby, with all of the languages that I ever touched. I've had this same frustration. So I guess writing software is suffering. Can we sum it up in that way? Like writing software equals to suffering.
I just like to equate it to a marathon. Except you don't know, you know what the finish line looks like, but at the same time, it's not in a specific location. It's not fixed. It keeps moving back and it never moves forward. It keeps moving back.
Yeah, it's like, but it's a marathon in the Amazon, and you have a machete, and you have to, like, cut down trees, fight off animals, and, like, just cross the Amazon River, and you have an idea where the goal is, but you're not really sure. And so it's like a really difficult version of being Indiana Jones, except that you're not as good looking, as well paid, or or as handy with the machete or any of the weapons he uses. So yeah, it's like being a crappy off-brand Indiana Jones.
Yeah, I think it's a good time for us to end this now.
So everybody out there who writes software, sooner or later they're gonna feel like this. And I think this is something that people who are learning software, people who consider themselves juniors, this is something they should really think about and realize, is that even though you learn the tools, even though you learn the languages, and you learn how to learn the tools and the languages, the frustration, the obstacles, the difficulty, it doesn't really get any easier. Even if you are Donald Knuth, or if you are Rob Pike, it doesn't get easier, because the smarter you are, or the better you get, the bigger challenges you're going to tackle. And guess what? You're going to stumble with things in the same manner. So never think of yourself, never think less of yourself because you are dealing with a certain problem. Just figure out a way for you to get past the problem. Ask for help. Network on social media. And this is where I think social media has a lot of value for developers, is that network with people who can help you or can help you find a solution, and keep going at it. Keep running the marathon, because it's not the when you run a marathon, even though the objective is to cross the finish line, the beauty of running the marathon is the journey, is seeing yourself running the marathon, is like seeing other people running it, is training. So it's the journey. So enjoy the journey, because that's the beautiful part of it. Once you get to the goal, yeah, it's beautiful, but the journey itself is the amazing thing.
Amen.
So with that in mind, what's your closing statement? No, I'm just kidding. No, I'm not gonna frustrate you. I'm just going to.
I'll give a closing statement. A closing statement is.
All right. Hold on. So the following is a closing statement by Scott Nimrod.
I would say my closing statement is, whatever you make a declaration on, if you declare war on anything in life, then go all out and finish it. Until it's done or it's reduced to rubble. Period. And so, initially we were venting and needed some tampons about, Project Nikeza, and some things that were kind of frustrating anxiety. But at the end, I'm not going to quit. I'm going to get it done, because I want to respect myself. And I guess, I still want to be respected by others of being known as a finisher. And I don't want to fold. I don't fold. I finish. And I think we should all finish what we declare. And that's pretty much it. So
absolutely. If you quit, the problem wins. If you don't quit, you win. It's that simple.
Sure.
Yeah. So with that amazing closing statement in mind, thank you, Scott. And I'm not being sarcastic. It sounded sarcastic, but I'm not being sarcastic. So with that in mind, thank you so much for listening to the Lambda Cartel podcast. This has been Pablo Rivera with Scott Nimrod, the Elm Tamer. AKA AKA the Bug Killer. Now, so I think we got to do something like the
Architect Slayer.
No, like the Wu-Tang Clan. We got to give each one of us like a name.
Architect Slayer.
So this has been Scott Nimrod, the Architect
Slayer.
The Architect Slayer.
I slay architects.
Oh, damn. So I
don't
know what that makes me, but I've never been an architect, thankfully, and hopefully I'll never be one. So how it's weird how in software you don't really have goals to be someone. You just say, I don't want to be a project manager. My goal is not to be a project manager or a architect or even a CTO, because those are just oh my god. So anyhow, thank you so much for listening to the Lambda Cartel podcast. We'll see you soon. Well, you will listen to us soon, and stay tuned for the next episode, which I hope will be better than this one. This was not the best episode ever.
We jumped everywhere.
Yeah. But hey, it's gonna get better. 3 months in, it's gotta get better. So thank you so much, and goodbye, everyone.
Peace.